which means it is 3 p.m. Pacific time, and that means we're going to hang out and talk to a special guest. We're going to talk about their journey into modern board games and also what they're up to, how they use it outside of the gaming community. And then we're going to talk about our top 3 lists in a certain category. Today's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited about having our guest here. And my guest today is Lydia-Rae Wehmeyer. She is a public speaking and drama director at a school in University City, Missouri. She started Board Game Friday, where she introduces her students to her love of board games with a new game each week. After playing, her class analyzes how the games can be used to benefit the actor. Her goal is to use board games as a more inclusive way to build community, promote diversity of all abilities, strengthen communication, and lastly, as an additional source to help the student with trauma to find alternative ways to cope. So, again, you're going to see Lydia's amazing. I'm going to bring her on. Thanks, folks, for joining us. I'm going to bring on Lydia right now. And there she is. Lydia, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Okay. And I see Amanda Panda is in the comments.
Hi,
yay.
Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
I miss you.
Yes, Amanda, thank you so much for hanging out. We're going to have more guests. I'm sure people in chat, they're going to be showing up. Amanda says she misses you too, of course. Lydia, let's talk about, I love it. Let's talk about your journey into board games. So as a child, did you have board games in your household growing up? Did you play like all the classics as we all know them to be?
Well, we played Muggle games as a child.
The Muggle games.
Yeah, so we started off with, hi!
That's Michelle.
We played Monopoly. We played Life. And one of the reasons we played those games, besides like spades and dice, is just because you didn't really have to learn the rule book. It was just verbally taught. So that was kind of what I was exposed to. They were usually like older games that, you know, they've been with a certain amount of people because they were dented and maybe you lost a piece. But those are really the two as a child I remember playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, so growing up, I mean, did you play any other games like growing up? Did you get introduced to any, well, not really modern, some of those other games maybe up in, you know, as a kid outside of like the real basic or classics?
Actually, no, because that was all that I was surrounded about. I didn't get exposed to like modern gaming until I was like kind of adult. I'm kind of a late bloomer.
Okay, yeah, nice. And can you remember what was either the game or the games that really brought you into the modern board game?
Catan.
Catan, nice.
Yes, because it just looked cool.
Right?
And so like it's with my friends are like, let's play this game. And I'm like, I've never played Catan before. And I just love the strategy with it. And then after that game, I was hooked. I was like, they have board game shops around here for this. So I would go into the store and I'm like, I like this betrayal game.
Nice.
Like, and I started like learning a lot more from like tabletop with Will Wheaton, like back in the day.
Right,
so
right.
I started getting games from there. And just start building my library.
That's awesome. It's funny. Like, I feel like our journeys are similar in the fact that, you know, I found Will Wheaton on tabletop as well. And it's like, oh, that game looks cool. Or, you know, oh, Ticket to Ride. I think this is something Michelle and I would like. So after you played Betrayal, did you play Betrayal and then find Will Wheaton on tabletop on YouTube?
It was
the other way around?
After Catan, because I started looking at tutorials.
Oh,
and then I was like, I used to save his channel and just watch and make notes of what games to get. So like Fury of Dracula was on my list, Call of Cthulhu, just everything. It was just, yes, I could get this and I could be a part of this too.
Nice. And so the Catan game, was that just random friends or what? Did they have like a game night or?
Well, it was, we met friends. I met friends through other people and they like to play games. And they're like, oh, let's have a game night. And I had never had a game night before. Usually, like a modern game night. Everyone would be like, apples to apples or Cards Against Humanity. But then after playing that a little bit, you're like, I don't really want to play that anymore. I want something more complex.
Right.
And so they brought the games over and we got to know them better and they had the same hobby. And so they started introducing us games. And then from research, I was able to incorporate a lot more.
Awesome. That sounds so familiar with, I've, talked to a few people and I feel like a lot of our journeys are similar in
Mhm.
certain aspects like that, and where Catan or whatever it is, it gets its hooks into you, and it's like you start researching and trying to find more and more. Were there any games after a Catan that really got you just absolutely fell in love with?
I would say like Roll for It, just
Oh
because
yeah.
like I got the deluxe version because Will Wheaton got the deluxe version, and I like the cards.
Yeah.
I really like that game. Oh, what else? Oh, this is tough because it's like I'm going
It's
back in
live.
time.
You're right.
But I would say that one sticking on the top of my head is like Roll for It.
Yeah. We played that, live streamed that recently. Michelle had never played it before, and again, it was instant love. We love Roll for It. I love games that you're talking about how the games you grew up with. You didn't have to read a 30-page rule book. It was like, here, I can verbally teach this to you, and there's something to be said for that. And I remember, my mom or my dad teaching us checkers as kids. And you can still play it to this day.
Or Connect Four.
Connect Four, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's those games they're classics for a reason. It's like, yeah, they may not be the meatiest or the coolest for the modern board games, but they're always going to be around.
Yeah, and it's just a nice way for those that aren't, people who aren't really big gamers to kind of get into the building the community with board gaming.
Yep.
Like just, like playing Farkle. And it's not really expensive. You just have to get, isn't it 6 dice?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 dice, and then just enjoy each other.
Right. Yeah. And along that line, like Yahtzee, that was another big one growing up for me.
Or
it's like
categories.
Categories. Yeah.
Yes.
That's like Categories is still sold to this day, and people still play it. I would totally play a game of Categories. Yeah. Someone asked me. Amanda says, even now, having a game taught by someone who knows it is a lot easier than reading or learning from the rule book.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Absolutely.
Because if you know that it's going to be a thick rule book, you are just going to know. I think I have Whistle Stop that is in a box, punched out.
Yeah.
I looked at the rule book and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's a commitment to learn that game. And thankfully, we have Rodney and Watch It Played and all these other resources on YouTube, which is great. So moving on, Lydia, so you get into modern board games and now you're bringing them into the classroom, which I think is so cool and so interesting. Can you talk about a little bit of what you teach and then how you use board games in your classroom?
Okay. So I teach public speaking and theater. I teach middle school, so like 6th through 8th grade. And I went to Gen Con's trade day because I was like, oh my gosh, there's a convention for teachers. I'm going to go.
Nice.
And I went to a session, an RPG session, because I want to be able to use RPGs in storytelling, because public speaking and theater, you can combine the two. Mm-hmm. And I realized, with hearing different people's experiences and hearing the positive feedback, I realized that the demographic didn't look like me. And from personal experiences with myself, it wasn't really accepting. And a light bulb came up and I'm like, why don't I bring it to my kids? Why don't I try it? So I started doing, Board Game Fridays, and where I would bring a game each week. And I just slowly had it on my table. And it was never a forced activity, because a lot of kids, if they know that it's part of the curriculum, if they know it's part of the day that you have to participate, they won't participate. So I treated it like an open lab where they have multiple options, and I have main table. So the main table is where I sit at, and I have a game just out there. So when they come in, the first thing they see is my game. And I just tell them like, hey, I have a game to try. Would you like to try it with me? And if they want to, they can come. I've had people stand. So I just use it as a therapeutic time for them just to debrief and just talk to each other, get their competitiveness on, and just have fun. Because the one thing that I realized, they're like, this isn't like Monopoly. This isn't like Uno, and it's cool. I've never seen a game like that. And so with their feedback, it allowed me to bring in more games to them too. But then also listening to feedback of, you know what, I didn't really like this game or this type of game. And then I would teach them lessons on, hey, well, rule number 1, you're not going to like all board games. Just like you're not going to like all scripts, just that you're not going to like all audiences when you present speeches. And it's okay, so it was a really cool experience to have that going on.
That's awesome. I love the fact that, you're listening to your students and they're involved and you're collaborating with them in order to find out, what games fit the classroom the best. And what are some of the challenges of doing something like this? Like, if there's anyone out there watching now, what are some of the challenges that, that they would have to deal with or, face in doing something like this?
I would say time frame for one, because my classes are in 45-minute periods. When they come in, I have to take attendance. I have to make sure I get their attention. So 10 minutes is spent right there.
Yep.
And then I have to teach the game to people who have never seen it. And then technically I have 20 to 25, 30 minutes to play. So just picking games that would be key to your time frame. But then also confidence that your kids will like it. One of the things that I had when going through that conference, I was on cloud 9. I was like, I'm going to do it and it's going to be awesome. And then as soon as I came to work the next day, I was like, I don't know if they're going to like it.
Right.
And I'm like, and so I just told them, I didn't tell them basically anything. I just had it there and I just gave it a shot. And then also just realizing that if they don't like it, it's okay. It should never be forced, because games are supposed to be enjoyable and it's supposed to be kind of a reward for them. And just realizing that you give them a lot of opportunities, because a challenge could be that with being the game master, you want to control the entire environment. You're very heavy on rules and you have to accept within yourself, of what I do with my kids, that rules are supposed to be modified and it's okay. And I do a lot of modification. I actually teach my kids that there are no errors, even though they are some, because if they know that there's a negative effect with the game, with they know that losing is going to happen. But if they make a mistake with learning a game, or maybe they drew too many cards, if you address that, they'll shut down. And then you've completely lost the aspect of communication. So just being prepared to modify and know that, hey, the rules are there for a reason, but the ultimate goal for your kids are to have fun.
Right. And going along those lines, so what happened? What if there is that shutdown, a student just, I'm not into this or whatever. How do you go from there? What do you do?
There's two different ways that I approach it. So one, let's just say this happened when I introduced exploding kittens. So the kids were supposed to draw one, play one, all that jazz. But one person drew 2. And then everyone else started suit by drawing 2. So just how I communicated with, hey guys, so, that's not the rules, but let's keep playing this way. And then we'll restart the game in the correct way. And they're fine, because there was no shame attached to it.
Yep.
But in another situation with a game like Phase 10, I had someone like, well, he didn't really want to follow the rule of melding. So he kind of just pushed his cards aside and was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this. And I just kind of encouraged him, because he was like the king of Phase 10.
Yeah.
He won everything. And I said, but who's going to dethrone you? You said you have a lot of people that are going to want to take your crown. Does a king bow down in defeat like this? And he was like, no. And so he's like, I was like, well, let's redo this round again. You still have your crown, and take it from there. It's just really how you approach them.
That's awesome. That's such I think it's useful to share these, not just me and you, but for anyone watching, because these are techniques that you can use not only in the classroom but just in general. Listen and collaborate and acknowledge what's happening. Lydia, this is great. Is there anything else you want to talk about as we move on here before I move on to our top 3 list category?
Just anyone that's wanting to do board games in the classroom, just do it. There's so many games. If you really think hard enough, I want to be in your class.
That's Michelle.
It's just don't look at everything like with face value. Because if you present a table, they'll come. If you're welcome and opening, they'll come. It's just, even in any board gaming environment that you're in, as long as you're welcoming and warm to the participants, they would be more willing to learn a game. And that's kind of my goal, is to keep exposing kids, to our wonderful hobby.
So awesome. Thank you, Lydia, for sharing.
You're welcome.
So on that note, we are going to move on to our top 3 list. And we chose a list here. Oh, I'm going to put up Amanda's little comment there. I don't know what those emojis are, but
I don't know, but I love
it. For our topic today, we picked the top 3 games for students that can be played in 30 minutes or less. Obviously, for Lydia, she has a lot of experience in this for this category. I back in the day, a few years ago, I was volunteering as a board game club organizer at a local high school. So I would come in once a week. We'd have an hour, and I'd teach games. So I got to know these students. They were great students, and like you, there was some challenges for me to face in trying to get students to buy in, I guess, in the program. But I took the attitude, hey, if they wanted to come up and play, cool, I'm more than happy to teach. It was like you, I never forced it. Obviously it was a club, so if they were there, they obviously want to be there. But anyways, these are our games, the top 3 games that play in 30 minutes or less for students. I'm going to start off, and then we're going to go to Lydia, and we're going to alternate here. My number 3 is Red 7. So this game here by Carl Chudik, this is a card game, which is really cool. It's super fast. It can seriously, you can play one turn and be over. It's so funny. Okay. Yeah, it's you basically have these numbered cards or different colors, and on each card it says something. It's like an action that you can do. You change the scoring conditions. So the basic premise is whoever's the last player standing wins. And if you have a card, like you're playing a card and you have to match the condition, like it says, whoever has the most cards that equal, whoever has the most even cards in their hand can stay or is winning. So if you cannot play something, you're out of the round. Games are no longer than 10 minutes, and it's really easy to learn. It's like the rules are like, I don't know, here it is.
Nice.
On a card. Yeah.
And my kiddos always love player aids because I love player aids.
Exactly, right? Anyone that teaches games loves player aids. And I think that's one thing that frustrates me with some of these bigger box games. Like, yeah, you can have a 20-page rule book, fine, I'll read it, I'll watch videos. But give me a player aid, please.
Yeah. Or just write it on the or you have a game that has that one white space in the corner. You can wrote the instructions there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all we ask for, game publishers. Please, if you're watching this and you publish games, just give us a little key. Player aid, space on the board, please do it. Yes. Yeah. So Red 7, it's by Asmati Games. This one, it's probably like $10-15 at most, and I've played it a ton. It's always a hit. It's not only it's a hit with people who've never played games, but also people who have played games, because there are some advanced rules that you can throw in that make it a little more gamery. For instance, Lydia, have you played Red 7?
No, I haven't, but I'm thinking of different ways of how I can present this in my classroom. Thinking about different modifications, like if I'm teaching this in a drama classroom, maybe they have to do a nonverbal action, and they have to be guessed before they're able, to connect, and just make it more fun to where they're up and moving.
Right.
They're middle schoolers and they want to move.
So speaking of, as a drama teacher, are you incorporating elements of drama into different types of card or board games?
Yes.
Can you think of anything? I'll put you on the spot here. Can you think of anything that?
Well, I guess it's an RPG I did was Mermaid Adventures that I got from my really good friend Kathleen Mercury. So I incorporated it with drama as a way of script analysis. So when we had our live sessions, they also had to write an analysis developing their character along with their character sheet.
Oh, cool.
They also had to develop a setting, even though the setting is played in the book, just what setting did their character come from, their prior story.
Like the backstory or whatever. Very cool. Nice.
So any game that I'm doing, it's I'm incorporating it in that way. So I Dissent, I use that as a 1 minute, persuasion debate for our persuasive unit.
That's awesome. Nice. Okay. I'm going to move on to you now, Lydia.
Okay.
What is your number 3?
My number 3 is, oh gosh, Werewolf Deluxe.
Yeah, there it is.
I told you I would forget. I needed to like open up my phone now. But yes, I love Werewolf Deluxe.
Yes.
It is one of my kids' favorite games. We usually complete it in 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
On the time frame. That's their requested time, actually.
Okay.
And we customize lists on there, which is really cool. So they get, after playing the game, they get to create their own lists. So, and I like Werewolf Deluxe because depending on the group, you can get through it pretty quick.
Right. And
with
for
me
those
and the mayor.
Right. And for those of are in our audience who have not played it, can you give a quick rundown of werewolves? I can't even say it.
It's a werewolf. And if I explain it horribly, I'm sorry. But
no,
basically, Werewolves Deluxe is kind of like trying to find your role game. So like there are werewolves, there's townspeople, the mayor, and you have a select word on your phone, which I use the app, which is really good. And the certain roles get to see the word, and the mayor can't speak at all. And you have 4 minutes to try to solve the word. The townspeople want to win. The werewolf is going to try to distract you, but no one knows the rules unless it's set in the app.
Yep. It's got that. And isn't it? You can ask questions.
And it's like one sentence question. So like, is it a fruit? And the mayor has to say, like, they can't say anything, but it's like tokens of like yes, no, maybe, correct. And you can't ignore a question. So if the werewolf knows that it's an apple, they're going to ask, is it human? And the mayor has to answer it. Right.
I've played a few times. It's always been fun. And there's other roles as well, correct? Do you guys play with the other roles as well?
We've played with the seer. We've played with the doppelganger, which is kind of, you get to mimic someone else's role. We've played with the fortune teller. And those are the ones that they feel more comfortable with. I hope eventually we'll move on to other ones. But those are the ones they really like.
That's really cool. Hey, Michelle G says, that's genius. And Tana says, I love the creativity you have, Lydia. Thinking about how to incorporate games into anything is really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. So that was Lydia's number 3. Let's move on here. I'm going to go to my number 2, which is Qwixx Deluxe. So Qwixx, it's Qwixx, but Deluxe is just...
played it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's the orange box.
Yes, the orange box. The Deluxe edition comes with bigger dice and markers and the little dry erase board. But this is like basically modern Yahtzee, I would call it, where it's a lot quicker, which I like. It's maybe a 15, 20-minute game at most. And you roll dice and you're trying to fill out the numbers on the sheet. And what separates this from Yahtzee, and which the thing I like the most, and this is what the kids really respond to, I think, or the students, when you roll a dice, it's the active player's turn, but the other players, non-active players, still have something to do.
Okay.
So you roll the dice and you can write down the numbers on your sheet, and then everyone else has the option to do that as well. They don't have to, but the active player must. And what I liked about that versus Yahtzee is, well, Yahtzee, you roll the dice, only you're the one writing. Everyone else is just sort of watching you, which I guess is okay when you're doing 2 players. But anything above 2 players in Yahtzee it's just nightmare downtime. You're just sitting there, okay, can I roll the dice now? But Qwixx, it moves quickly, and it's super easy to teach. And this one has a special place in my heart because the students in the club, I taught them this game, and then there were students who became leaders. They taught the game to the other students. And so when I would show up, when Mr. Gaviola showed up with the games, they say, hey, can I teach Qwixx to this student who just joined the club? I'm like, of course, that's awesome. I don't have to teach it. You guys, you're taking a leadership role. So that's Qwixx to me. I love Qwixx. Have you've actually played it, Lydia?
I think so, with adults, but I really want to try it with kids, because going off of what you said about, teaching kids to be leaders, that's one of the things that I like to do. Like whenever I teach a game and a kid really likes a game, so like Werewolves Deluxe, I usually have someone lead it while I go and teach another game. So I love games that gives, exactly, Michelle, engagement. And because, middle schoolers are going to be like fidgety, like, is it my turn yet, Miss Wehmeyer? And I'm like, just got to be patient. So a game like Qwixx would work really well in my space.
Absolutely, yeah. And also the last one we talked about, Red 7 as well. The turns are so quick. It's like, maybe 10 seconds to decide what card. So that's why I like these type of games. It's like you said, keeps everyone engaged and moving forward. And it's easy for students to become leaders by teaching games.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And Lydia, do you remember your number 2?
I do. See, I have it on.
Yeah.
Deep Sea Adventure.
Yes. Deep Sea Adventure. There it is.
My kids love this game. Yeah. And the reason they love it is they like to mess around with me and cause me to die. And then they keep forgetting that we have to work together.
Yeah.
Their oxygen doesn't deplete. So Deep Sea Adventure, I think it can play up to 6 people. Really cute, tiny little blue box. You can actually get it at Target. My kids have bought it.
Nice.
And you're basically trying to go down for sunken treasure. And you don't know what the treasure is because it's hidden. It's kind of a push your luck game. But if you would roll a dice, and if you roll a 1, you would move that many spaces. And depending on if you want to keep it or not, if you kept it, oxygen goes down as many as the pips on the top. Goal to keep all the points, you have to go back up. I can play this game in about 30 minutes, like sharp. Because like I mentioned before, I only have like a 45-minute class. And after 10 minutes is gone of taking attendance and doing my tutor duties, then it's time for fun. But yeah, and the kids get to really communicate and talk to each other and try to persuade people to keep going down. And then have their own personal agenda with trying to get the treasure.
That's right. Book of Nerds, that's my friend John says fun game. Yes.
It is a fun game.
Yeah. Amanda hasn't played it yet. Amanda, we're going to have to remedy that soon.
It's really great virtually. I've done it a lot with my virtual. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So what I do is that I have the game set up and I fold down my camera and I move the pieces.
Okay. Yeah, because all you have to do is show them like if they can get a treasure or whatever.
And it works really well, and it works quick since it only lasts 3 rounds.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I love Deep Sea Adventure. Actually was it was just left off my list and say like number 4, I guess. It's such a good game. And like you were saying, I love seeing how the students interact with each other. It's like, sort of like, oh yeah, keep going down while they're going up. It's like, oh yeah, go ahead, go push your luck. And someone's already got treasure.
Drowned.
It's like we drowned together. Yep, exactly. That's funny. Awesome, Lydia. Let's go to, before we get to our number 1s, we are going to do some honorable mentions. These are games that just missed the cut, and I'll start here. My honorable mentions, I have 2 of them. Monster Crunch, the breakfast battle game, and Ascension. So I'll start with Ascension. That's basically a deck builder, somewhat like Dominion, but it plays more like Star Realms. And this one, as long as your students understand deck building, and I was able to teach a couple of students this, once they get the hang of it, the game goes by really, really fast. They're just playing 5 cards at a time, boom, boom, boom. They add monsters to their deck or whatever, and then they fight monsters, get the points. And this one, they can, for 2 players, it can be knocked out in 30 minutes or less. And what I usually did for the games, or the gaming club, was I would have different games going on. Like say couple players playing Red 7, couple are playing Qwixx, and then there would be either 2 players left over, or me and 1 other player. Ascension would be just right for 30 minutes. Okay. Have you ever played Ascension, Lydia?
I haven't, but I've played Dominion though. I want to be able to incorporate a deck building game into when I see my kids again, because it's one of my favorite types of games.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to use that one.
Yeah, that, you know what, actually, let me get off the shelf real quick. Hold on a second. I have one here that we just played recently called Abandon All Artichokes.
I've heard of that, and I think my kids would love it because it's cute.
It's super cute, and it's super fast. It's even faster. It's maybe 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at tops. Okay. Yeah, and it's so good. It's a totally streamlined deck builder. It's so fast.
Nice.
And, yeah, super cute. The other game on my list here, Monster Crunch Breakfast Battle game. This is like a not really trick taking, like a ladder stepping game. You're playing numbers 1, 2, 3, and then it's got the old school retro serial art. So that was just an immediate like hit with me. Like Blueberry Crunch and stuff like that. Yeah. So those are my honorable mentions. I'm going to go to my number one, which is, as I mentioned earlier, before we came on, I told Lydia, I sort of cheated with this number one because it's not really a 30-minute game, but if you play it enough, it is. So Splendor, it's a modern classic. Michelle and I, 2 players can knock it out in 15, 20 minutes. But with the students I was working with, I taught them the game. And 4 players, yes, it was definitely 45 to an hour. But again, as leaders, a couple of students really taking this game. And I remember one student, and he was just every time I show, Mr. Gabriel can play Splendor, I was like, of course. And then he eventually became the student who taught everyone else. So it was great to see that. And they did start knocking it out in about 30, 35 minutes. So that was really cool to see. Have you played
yes,
Splendor?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Any thoughts on
it? No, I really like it. I never have time to do it because I'm trying to figure out how to modify it so where I can just teach the rules plain and simple. Because that's what I do. I just go through the rules, take out all the fluff, and this is what it is. So I haven't tried it. It is on my list because I usually have kids of 25. Largest gaming groups in class are like 15. So I really have to be selective in what I play.
Right. Of course. Cool. A couple of comments here. Amanda's just about to ask about all our other chokes, and Michelle says the kids love that game. Yes. Talking about Splendor. So let's move on. Lydia, you have some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut.
Yes. So my honorable mentions were, yes, there it goes.
I was like, where is it? Okay, there
it is. Medium and Pitchstorm are my 2.
So I'm familiar with both. Could you explain them quickly, what they're about?
So Medium is basically you're trying to mind meld with an individual. You both have a word, you put it down, and you have to figure out the common word between it. But It's really cool. The reason I couldn't put it in 30 is because I feel like the group is really big when I play it, and you're not going to be able to get around everyone. And it's the same with Pitchstorm. I've done that virtually. I've done Medium virtually. And Pitchstorm is basically you have a crazy thing for a movie. You're trying to pitch it to the director, and you could throw a wrench into the problem. And it's great for improv.
I was going to say that's sounds like it's perfect for drama, drama students.
And impromptu speaking for public speaking.
Oh, nice. So would you just, as far as the classroom, would you just say, hey, we're going to play Pitchstorm, and you guys have to, okay.
And I would do the objectives and how it relates to this and how we do it. I give the example and then they do it.
That's awesome. Okay. So we've had your honorable mentions. We've had our 3, 2, and my 1. Now it's your number 1, which, spoiler alert, I absolutely love.
Drop it.
Yeah. There it is.
I didn't forget. So right now, Drop It is one of my favorites for the kids. The kids love it. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So easy to learn because all you have to do is drop shapes, and it's hilarious because they get to choose what sides, and I always give them an option. Hey, are you sure you want to choose this side for points? Yeah. Right. And then they don't get points. And it's really easy to adapt with kids with disabilities, especially if they have assistance with a para, because some person can take over the scoring process, and then you can also have a helper and they put it through. So it's really a great versatile game that I love.
Yeah, absolutely. We were introduced to it, I think, 2 years ago, and it just immediately is like we need to get a copy. We love it, and it's been a hit with everyone I've taught it to, gamers, non-gamers, random people,
Yes, especially when, someone puts a shape down and then you put a shape down and you hit the little special, bonus point when it should go on to the other thing. I think I played this game twice.
Okay.
Because I think it runs about 10 minutes. If we get in there, it's bump, bump, bump.
Yeah.
I know. Number 1.
Yeah, I brought it into our game club a couple of times, and the students were it's just that physical, just that table presence, right? Mm-hmm. You see, it's what is that? And I think it looks like Plinko from The Price is Right. So.
And the kids like to touch a lot, and it's great for kinesthetic learners. So,
yes, absolutely.
Most definitely.
And Michelle says it's not as easy as it looks.
No, it's not. Right. Especially if someone shakes the table and then chaos breaks loose. Yep,
that's right. Okay, so folks, those were our top 3 games that played 30 minutes or less that are great for students. I want to thank Lydia. Lydia, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and just talking about your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I really appreciate you sharing your story and also the games that you use in the classroom. And no one, we didn't really talk about this, but we were talking months ago when we hung out back in January that we were going to have a Lydia Con, right? Lydia was going to come back out here to SoCal, and we're going to have everyone hang out and play games. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But one of these days, we will get Lydia Con back together. So, but before we get going, Lydia, is there anything you'd like to add? And also, where can people get in touch with you on the socials?
I post a lot of my school stuff and how we incorporate board games on Instagram. So it's All the World's a Stage 07. Right now, I'm still working on getting board gaming to kiddos that have no resources and just in these crazy times to make it a therapeutic hobby for all to be there. And it's 07, not 97.
Oh, shoot. I just did a typo. I was trying to do this the last second here. I was like, I should have had this ready. My bad. 07. There it is.
Yeah. And if anyone needs any help on how to incorporate it, I know I'm going to be leading a couple of RPGs for kids. I just want to help out because it's so awesome. And I love seeing the effects it has for bringing community. And I think that's what we need more now than ever.
Absolutely. And Lydia, you are a credit to the gaming community and teachers, and you're an inspiration. Seriously. I was, we'd followed each other for a little while on Instagram, but actually being able to meet with you back in January at Game School Con and hanging out with, my wife and our other friend, our mutual friends that we made, it inspired us, and we're talking about Lydia's awesome. And so for you, so thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate your time today, Lydia.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.